Have you ever walked through your home and felt something was just off? Everything looks clean, the furniture is in place, the lights are on. Yet there's a heaviness in the air, like the rooms are holding their breath. Maybe you've blamed it on stress, bad sleep, or just a weird day. But what if the real reason isn't how you live, but what color you live in? Most people paint their walls based on trend or personal taste. Beige for calm, gray for modern, red for warmth. But behind those pretty surfaces, something far more powerful is happening. Something that could be quietly shaping your fortune, your relationships, even your health. According to ancient Feng Shui, every color carries its own energetic frequency, tied directly to one of the 5 elements: metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. When aligned properly, these energies create harmony and attract wealth, peace, and opportunity. But when misaligned, they can block prosperity, disturb sleep, strain family bonds, and slowly drain the vitality from your space. The truth is, the wrong wall color might be the silent reason your money comes and goes, your sleep feels shallow, or your home just doesn't feel like it loves you back. And most people have no idea they've been painting their own misfortune. So before you choose another trendy tone or repaint your living room based on Pinterest, ask yourself, what is this color inviting in? And what might it be keeping out? In the next few minutes, we'll uncover 8 powerful Feng Shui colors that aren't just beautiful, but carry the potential to reshape the energy of your home and the fortune of everyone who lives in it. If your walls could speak, what would they be saying about your future? Number 1, gold, the door to abundance. There's a quiet kind of power in gold. It doesn't need to shout or demand attention. Its very presence speaks of wealth, longevity, and a life built on strong foundations. Maybe that's why so many homes seek to look expensive but fail to feel prosperous. Because prosperity isn't a design trend. It's an energy. Gold, in the language of Feng Shui, belongs to the metal element, an energy that strengthens structure, commands respect, and magnetizes abundance. When you use gold with intention, you don't just decorate a space. You awaken a current of fortune that has long been asleep. Think about the last time you saw gold in a room. Not as a gaudy centerpiece, but as a soft gleam from a picture frame, a delicate thread in a cushion, the warm glow of a doorknob catching the light at sunset. Did it feel like the space knew its own worth? That's the gift gold brings. It reflects confidence without arrogance. In Vietnamese culture, gold is everywhere in moments of transformation. Wedding trays lined with golden embroidery, T-letter 1EBFT envelopes sparkling with hope, altars adorned with golden candle holders where ancestors are honored and dreams whispered. Gold is not decoration, it is declaration, but gold must be used with care. Like sunlight, it warms, but too much burns. A room drenched in gold can feel suffocating, overly rigid, or strangely performative, as if it's trying too hard to impress and failing to invite. Feng Shui warns that overusing gold can trigger restlessness, mental tension, or an ego-driven energy that drowns out harmony. You may find yourself constantly seeking more without feeling grateful for what already exists. The energy becomes consuming instead of supportive, loud instead of luminous. The secret lies in where and how you use gold. This color thrives in spaces tied to wealth and growth. Your dining room, where nourishment becomes connection. Your workspace, where ideas are born and financial decisions made. The southeast corner of your home, known in Feng Shui as the money area. Imagine a dining room with a golden-framed mirror catching morning light, reflecting laughter and the quiet clink of shared meals. Imagine a writing desk with a brass lamp glowing softly as you plan your next step. Here, gold doesn't dominate, it blesses. And perhaps the most powerful place to use gold is where you've forgotten to value yourself. A shelf long neglected, a wall always left bare, a space where dreams were once made but slowly faded. Adding a single gold touch to that place can be like lighting a candle in a room that's been dark for too long. It tells your home and your heart, this part of me still matters. I still matter. Many older women, especially those who have spent decades giving, raising children, caring for aging parents, holding families together, reach a point where they wonder, is it too late for me to thrive? Gold whispers back, no, it is not. You have always been worthy of beauty, comfort, and abundance. You are not finished, you are ripening. This is why gold is more than a color, it's an invitation. To reclaim your power, not loudly, but gracefully. To welcome prosperity, not just into your wallet, but into your spirit. And to let your home become a mirror of the quiet royalty you've always carried, even if life made you forget it for a while. So when you next hold a paint sample, or choose a lamp, or move a frame from one shelf to another, ask, is this adding gold for show or for soul? Let your answer be the difference between living in a space that looks rich and one that actually is. Number 2, blue, the gentle shield for peace and clarity. Some colors don't announce themselves, they wait. Like a lake before dawn, like the sky just before rain. Blue is that kind of color. It doesn't walk into the room. It breathes into it. It fills the space slowly, like cool mist, softening sharp edges, calming racing thoughts, wrapping silence around your shoulders. And in a world that often demands noise, speed, and reaction, blue gives you permission to rest. Not just your body, but your mind. Have you ever entered a room and felt your chest loosen, your breath slow, your mind uncoil from its endless to-do list? That wasn't the furniture. That wasn't the scent of lavender. That was likely the whisper of blue, subtle, steady, and profoundly cleansing. In Feng Shui, blue is the voice of the water element, a gentle energy that moves around obstacles, adapts to its container, and holds ancient wisdom beneath a calm surface. It doesn't push, it invites. It doesn't flare, it flows. Blue's strength lies in its stillness. It helps us return to the part of ourselves that listens, reflects, observes. And for women who have carried generations on their shoulders, who have played the role of nurturer, peacemaker, fixer, blue reminds you that your peace is not a luxury. It's your foundation. You don't need to be available to everyone all the time. You need to be available to yourself. In Vietnamese homes, blue shows up quietly, a silk cushion on a wooden bench, the painted ceramic edge of a family teacup, the window shutters in a village house near the coast. Blue has always been there to cool the heat of long summers, to echo the rivers we used to wash our hands in as children. It's the lullaby of color, the pause between moments. Yet blue must be handled like water, with balance. Too much of it, especially in its darker tones, can make a space feel distant, detached, or overly introspective. A deep blue wall in a small bedroom can feel like being underwater too long, where silence turns to weight. If misused, blue can create emotional isolation or even dampen energy that needs to move. This is why understanding your home's emotional rhythm is essential before you paint. Where does blue thrive? In the bedroom, where its soft tones promote deep, natural sleep, the kind that heals not just fatigue but grief. In meditation rooms or reading nooks, where it expands mental space and helps your thoughts settle like sand at the bottom of a quiet stream. In bathrooms, blue cleanses without intrusion. Even in workspaces, a light blue can sharpen clarity, boost concentration, and gently dissolve the tension of decision-making. To bring blue into your home doesn't mean to drown it. It means to weave it in like a cooling breeze. A sheer curtain fluttering in the afternoon. a painting of waves above your writing desk, a throw blanket that invites you to sit for just a moment longer. It means knowing that peace isn't passive. It's something you build, color by color, breath by breath. And there's something else about blue that no other color holds in quite the same way. It protects. Just as oceans buffer storms, blue is said to shield your home from external chaos, especially when placed near windows or entryways. It softens the energy that rushes in from the world and gently filters what your home receives. Think of it as a spiritual gatekeeper, not blocking life, but selecting what gets to stay. For women who have weathered emotional storms, who have lived through loss, silence, or the fatigue of always being strong, blue offers a safe harbor. Not by making the world smaller, but by making your inner world deeper. And sometimes, when the noise of life gets too loud, all you need is a place that tells you, breathe, soften, return. So if your home feels agitated, if your sleep is shallow, if your spirit longs for a pause, consider what shade of blue might answer that call. Not the navy of strict formality, not the neon of cheap trends, but the blue of rivers, of dusk skies, of worn fabric that still holds the scent of peace. Because sometimes the most powerful change isn't loud. It's a quiet shift, a gentle hue, a room that for the first time in years allows you to finally let go. Number 3, red, fire that ignites bold beginnings. There are moments in life when softness isn't what we need. We don't need quiet reassurance. We need fire, not to destroy, but to awaken. To melt the numbness, to break through the fog, to call us back into ourselves. Red is not a color, it's a decision. It says, I am no longer shrinking. I am done waiting. I am ready to live fully. In Feng Shui, red is the voice of the fire element. It embodies action, clarity, boldness, and unshakable momentum. Where blue soothes and gold steadies, red strikes. It doesn't gently guide you toward change, it kicks the door open. And sometimes that's exactly what a space and a woman needs. Many of us reach a season in life when we've given so much that we forget how to want. When routines have hardened into walls and the spark we once had is buried beneath years of should and must. Red is the color that digs it out. It's the heartbeat, the drum roll, the match struck in a quiet room. But don't misunderstand red. It isn't aggression. It's aliveness. It reminds us that desire isn't something to outgrow. That clarity doesn't have to be whispered. That there's nothing wrong with wanting more from your day, your home, or yourself. When used with awareness, red becomes a powerful ally. In living spaces, it energizes conversations and connection. It helps people show up more fully, with warmth, presence, and joy. A crimson throw blanket on a pale sofa, a bold abstract painting above a dining table. Even a single red lampshade can change the emotional temperature of a room. It invites people to be more here, more awake. Red also excels in spaces where decisions are made. A home office, a creative studio, a reading corner where ideas are born. Here, red cuts through hesitation. It sharpens focus, stirs confidence, and encourages commitment. Even in its smallest form, a book cover, a paperweight, a stripe in a pillow, red can ignite productivity without force. But like fire, red demands balance. Used carelessly, it can overwhelm. A bedroom soaked in red may feel more like a performance than a place to rest. The same energy that fuels clarity by day can fray your edges at night. Too much red in small spaces may trigger restlessness or mental overstimulation, especially if you're already navigating stress. That's why red works best in pulses, not floods. It doesn't need to cover the walls to command attention. It only needs to be placed with intention, where motivation is needed, where connection is desired. where life feels stuck or dimmed. There's something deeply healing about using red to reclaim forgotten corners of your home and yourself. A hallway you always walk through but never notice. A chair that hasn't been sat in for years. A drawer full of plans you once had but no longer look at. Adding red to these spaces is like lighting a candle for a version of you that still wants to be seen. Red doesn't ask you to be loud, it asks you to be honest. What are you holding back? What part of you has been paused? What do you want to say, do, feel, but haven't dared? For women who have lived through decades of caretaking, red is not vanity, it's recovery. It gives you permission to take up space again, to remember that you were never meant to fade quietly, that there is still time for big dreams, bold moves, unapologetic joy. This isn't about repainting the whole house. It's about giving yourself permission to feel again, to walk into a room and feel your energy rise, to look at a red vase, a pillow, a single painted chair, and feel a flicker inside you say, yes, I'm still here, I still burn. So if your home feels too quiet, too gray, too neutral, ask yourself, where could a little fire help you remember who you are? Start small. Let red live in a corner. Let it speak for you until you're ready to speak for yourself. Because sometimes the most radical thing you can do is to want more. And to let your walls reflect that truth with courage, color, and a little fire. Number 4, white, a blank page of possibilities. There's something sacred about white, not in its silence but in its invitation. It doesn't push, persuade, or proclaim. It simply waits, like a blank canvas. Like the first page of a new chapter. Like a breath held at the edge of something new. White is not emptiness. It is potential. In Feng Shui, white is tied to the metal element, an energy of clarity, precision, integrity, and truth. It cuts through clutter, both physical and mental. It makes space for what matters. Where red ignites and blue soothes, white clears. It says, start again, begin fresh. Let go of what no longer fits. Many homes over time become filled with the residue of what was. Old objects, tired colors, energies we've outgrown but haven't quite released. That's where white becomes medicine. It brings light into corners we've ignored. It allows walls to exhale. It gives you, the one who's always cared for others, a moment to choose yourself, not with noise, but with softness. White is not cold, though it's often misunderstood that way. True white, when chosen carefully, doesn't feel sterile. It feels alive. It reflects light in a way no other color can. It stretches ceilings, opens hallways, makes a small room feel expansive, not because it adds, but because it takes away everything unnecessary. It's the pause between words, the space that lets your eyes and spirit rest. If your life has felt crowded lately, not just your schedule, but your thoughts, your emotions, your expectations, white may be the space you've been longing for. It's not just visual relief, it's psychological clarity. It says, you do not have to carry all of this. In rooms where decisions are made, white brings mental sharpness. It allows you to think clearly, act intentionally. In kitchens and bathrooms, white enhances a sense of cleanliness, not just physical, but energetic. It helps wash away tension, noise, the residue of busy days. In bedrooms, soft whites combined with natural materials create a cocoon of restfulness, an emotional reset every time you return. But like all elements, white must be balanced. Too much or used without texture can feel empty, distant, or unfinished. A room that's only white may echo rather than embrace. It can become a kind of perfectionism, silent but sharp. To avoid this, think of white not as the only voice, but as the background music. Let it hold the space while softer tones, natural textures, and meaningful details speak their part. Add warmth with wooden frames, soft woven blankets, a ceramic lamp that glows like a candle. Even the light itself matters. White comes alive in natural daylight, shifting gently from morning gold to afternoon silver. Let your windows breathe. Let shadows play. Let silence have shape. White is especially powerful in transitional spaces, hallways, entryways, corners where energy tends to stall. These are the places we rush past without thought. But when painted in soft white, they become thresholds, moments of reset, places where you leave behind what was and prepare to meet what's next. And perhaps most of all, white offers forgiveness. If your home has held pain, conflict, or simply too much memory, white allows you to start again without pretending the past didn't happen. It doesn't erase, it softens. It turns sharp edges into open sky. It lets healing unfold, not with effort, but with gentleness. For women standing at the edge of a new season, retirement, renewal, rediscovery, white is more than aesthetic. It's a declaration: I am not done becoming. I am ready to write a new story, and every wall becomes a page. Every morning a pen. So if your home feels heavy or your heart feels cluttered, ask yourself, where could white give you back the space to breathe, think, dream? Maybe it's not the living room. Maybe it's just one chair, one windowsill, one wall above your bed. Start there. Let white hold what you're ready to release. Let it echo the quiet truth that there is still so much ahead, and all of it begins with a little more space, a little more light, and a willingness to begin again. Number 5, brown, the warmth of roots in earth. Some colors whisper of safety, of warmth that doesn't need to be seen to be felt, of something that holds you not with grand gestures but with steady presence. Brown is that kind of color. It doesn't impress, it grounds. It says you can exhale now, you're home. In Feng Shui, brown belongs to the earth element. It carries the energy of stability, nourishment, and long-term support. It doesn't rush, it doesn't chase, it stays. When life feels scattered, when emotions pull in too many directions, brown pulls you back, not into the past, but into your center. It's the color of rootedness, of the tree that's been standing in the same place for 50 years, of the soil that holds seeds quietly until they're ready to grow, of the warm cup between your palms after a long day. Brown reminds us that being solid isn't boring, it's beautiful. And more than ever, we need beauty that lasts. Many people overlook brown in favor of brighter, louder colors. But brown doesn't compete. It complements. It anchors a space, giving the eye a place to rest and the soul a place to return. When used well, brown creates an atmosphere that's calm without being cold, elegant without being distant. This is especially healing in times of transition, when something in your life has shifted, or when you're seeking to rebuild after loss, uncertainty, or emotional exhaustion. Brown doesn't demand that you rise. It simply offers a quiet seat beside the fire and says, stay as long as you need. Brown is deeply effective in spaces where you want to feel centered. Home offices, reading nooks, living rooms designed not just for guests, but for gathering. A chocolate-colored armchair that wraps around your shoulders. A walnut bookshelf that smells faintly of paper and time. A woven rug that softens footsteps and slows the pace of conversation. Brown is the background of stillness. In bedrooms, brown pairs beautifully with whites, creams, and soft grays, creating a sleep environment that feels not just quiet but protected. In dining areas, wooden tones in tables or chairs add depth and connection to meals, grounding people into the moment. Even small touches, a picture frame, a ceramic bowl, a linen curtain, can warm a room in ways no spotlight ever could. But brown, like the earth itself, can become too heavy if overused. A room with too much dark brown and no contrast may feel boxed in or overly serious. That's why it's important to pair brown with softness. Natural light textures that invite touch and colors that add breath. Brown wants company, not solitude. It shines when surrounded by life. And don't forget the emotional energy of brown. It supports those who are rebuilding boundaries, recovering trust, or simply looking to feel enough. In a world that often tells us to be more, do more, give more, brown offers the radical message that being steady is sacred. That you don't have to reinvent yourself to be valuable. You only need to return to what's real. For women who have held space for others for years, whether as mothers, caretakers, or quiet leaders, brown offers a reflection of what they've always been. Strong, stable, deeply needed. It reminds you that your presence, your wisdom, your calm, it's not invisible, it's invaluable. So if your home feels untethered, if your spirit feels thin from holding too much for too long, ask yourself, where can I let the earth hold me for a change? Maybe it's a reading corner that becomes your retreat. Maybe it's the table where you write letters to yourself. Maybe it's just one wall in a soft brown tone that feels like dusk settling gently around your shoulders. Start there, let brown become your quiet foundation. Let it tell you without saying a word, you are supported, you are held, you belong. Number 6, orange, the spark of joy in everyday life. Not every kind of healing comes from stillness. Some healing arrives laughing, warm in the chest, sudden and bright like sunlight through a window you forgot you opened. That's what orange does. It doesn't ask for permission to be joyful, it simply is. And sometimes, joy is exactly what a tired home and a weary heart needs most. Orange is the color of life in motion. In Feng Shui, it channels the fire element in a softer, more approachable way than red. Where red is bold and commanding, orange is curious, warm, and gently invigorating. It's the nudge that gets you out of bed a little earlier. The extra laugh at the end of a long story. The mood shift that turns a routine meal into a gathering. Orange doesn't try to impress, it tries to include. We often think of joy as something spontaneous, even rare. But what if joy could be built? What if color could coax happiness into everyday spaces, not with intensity, but with invitation? That's the quiet power of orange. It infuses a room with energy that feels not forced, but welcoming. Imagine a kitchen bathed in morning light, where orange bar stools or mugs brighten up the counters. Imagine a living room where just a few burnt orange pillows make the whole space feel warmer, more human, less formal. Orange brings life to in-between places, corners where you didn't think joy could live. It makes ordinary moments feel like small celebrations. This color thrives in areas where people gather. Kitchens, breakfast nooks, casual sitting areas. Not because it shouts, but because it glows. Orange encourages conversation, shared meals, creative ideas, and spontaneous moments that would never happen in a room that feels too cold or too polished. But orange isn't just social. It also sparks personal energy. For women who have lost touch with their creativity, who feel like their days are filled only with tasks, not inspiration, orange helps reignite that inner fire. It doesn't demand a masterpiece. It just asks you to try, to doodle, to dance in the hallway, to cook something new, to make a small mess and smile about it. In a workspace, orange in small amounts can increase focus and motivation without the intensity of red. It keeps you alert but not anxious. A soft orange notebook, a warm-toned desk lamp, or a single piece of art in citrus hues can make long hours feel more human and less mechanical. That said, orange needs moderation. Too much of it, especially in confined spaces, can lead to overstimulation. It's like sugar. It lifts your mood, but if you overdo it, you crash. Rooms soaked in orange may begin to feel chaotic or overwhelming, especially if the rest of the home lacks calming balance. That's why orange works best as an accent. It wants to brighten, not dominate. Pair orange with neutral tones, warm whites, light grays, natural woods, and let it act like laughter at the dinner table, meaningful but never forced. Textures matter too. Orange in soft fabrics, handmade ceramics, or textured walls feels more comforting than synthetic or glossy versions of the same hue. There's also a deep emotional role orange can play. It invites us to re-enter life after periods of numbness. For those healing from grief, exhaustion, or long emotional winters, orange gently says, "Come back." There's color here again. There's warmth even now. If you found yourself going through the motions, if you've forgotten what it feels like to feel playful, alive, even slightly ridiculous, orange might be your invitation to return, to feel silly again, to enjoy again. Not everything has to be productive. Not everything has to make sense. Some things are worth doing just because they make you feel good. Orange remembers that even when you've forgotten. So where can you add just a touch more joy? Is it the throw on your favorite chair? A tea towel in the kitchen that makes you smile? A candle on your desk that smells like citrus and late summer afternoons? Start small. Let orange open the door. Let it tell you that it's okay to feel excited about nothing in particular. That life doesn't always need to be serious to be sacred. That sometimes healing comes in the form of one color, one laugh, one beautifully ordinary moment. Number 7, green, the rebirth of hope and opportunity. Sometimes healing doesn't look like rest. It looks like growth. Quiet, steady, almost invisible, until one day you realize everything feels lighter. That's the energy of green. It doesn't force transformation, it invites it. Green doesn't ask you to leap, it asks you to root, to open, to begin again. In Feng Shui, green is the essence of the wood element. It represents vitality, expansion, adaptability, and renewal. It holds the energy of spring, the gentle but undeniable push toward life after a long winter. It brings forward the idea that no matter how still or heavy things have been, there is always room to grow again. Green is more than just the color of leaves. It's the feeling of walking barefoot on damp earth, of opening a window and smelling rain on the grass, of watching something that once seemed lifeless slowly bloom. Green doesn't announce change. It becomes it. This is the color that whispers, you are not stuck. You are simply between seasons. And what a relief that is for anyone who has felt stagnant, uninspired, or trapped in sameness. Green offers the promise that movement can be soft, that beginnings don't always need a bang. Sometimes they just need a little light, a little space, and something new to believe in. In your home, green thrives in spaces that ask for clarity and calm focus. Home offices, study corners, creative rooms where ideas are waiting to sprout. A sage green wall behind your desk. A small potted plant next to your journal. A painting of a forest in the hallway. These are not just design choices, they're energetic statements. I am open to growth. I am ready to see differently. Green also works beautifully in shared spaces, especially when combined with natural elements like wood, stone, or woven textures. In living rooms, it encourages conversation that is honest but gentle. In kitchens, it evokes freshness and nourishment, not just of the body, but of connection. Even a single green rug, curtain, or pillow can shift the emotional tone of a space from rushed to rooted. And of course, green belongs near the heart, your bedroom. Soft green tones here support emotional restoration. They calm anxious thoughts, ease the nervous system, and encourage deeper sleep. Light olive, dusty mint, or pale moss can help transform the room from simply a place you sleep into a place you return to yourself. But green, like nature, must be balanced. Deep, dark greens can be grounding, but too much may become heavy or overly introspective. In smaller rooms, they might close in space or dull natural light. That's why pairing green with white, soft grays, or even light beige can create a palette that breathes. Green wants companionship. It's not a color of isolation, but of quiet connection. There's also a protective quality to green that often goes unnoticed. Just as trees shield and filter, green helps absorb emotional noise. In homes where tension has lingered, or where people come and go with heavy hearts, green becomes a buffer. A kind of gentle emotional sponge, soaking in what no longer needs to be passed around. But perhaps the most important gift green offers is permission. Permission to feel alive again, to shift from survival to creativity, to believe that change is possible, even after disappointment, even after loss, especially after loss. For women who have spent years in service to others, who have set aside personal dreams or have forgotten what lights them up, green is not just a color. It's a quiet yes. A yes to possibility, a yes to yourself. It says, it's not too late. In fact, this might be the perfect time. So if your home feels tired or if your days feel flat, ask, where could a little green bring you back to life? Where in your space and your heart are things ready to grow again? Maybe it's a corner you never sit in, a shelf that feels dull, a chair that needs a plant beside it. Maybe it's just one wall painted in a green that makes you breathe a little deeper. Start there. Let green open the window inside you that you forgot was there. Let it remind you that you are still growing, still becoming, and that the season you've been waiting for might begin not with a plan, but with a color. Number 8, purple, a whisper from the soul. Some colors arrive like a storm. Others drift in like fog, slow, quiet, impossible to hold but hard to ignore. Purple is like that. It doesn't rush in to be seen. It lingers at the edge of your vision, waiting for you to notice. Not with your eyes, but with your soul. In Feng Shui, purple channels the fire element, but not the kind that burns. It's the kind that glows quietly within. The energy of insight, creativity, spiritual awakening, and emotional wisdom. If red is the fire of action, purple is the fire of meaning. It doesn't ask you to do, it asks you to listen. Purple is not a common choice in homes. Perhaps because it speaks a language not everyone is ready to hear. It's the color of deep questions, of long thoughts that lead to unexpected clarity, of feelings that have no name but take shape in the quiet. When used intentionally, purple opens a doorway not just to beauty, but to presence. It doesn't decorate, it deepens. This makes it perfect for the rooms in your home that hold your inner life. Meditation spaces, reading corners, creative studios, or simply the chair where you sit when no one is watching. A muted lavender wall, a plum-colored pillow, or a violet candle by your bedside. These are not just design choices. They are invitations to go inward. Purple supports those who seek alignment, who are learning to trust their intuition again after years of being told to doubt it, who are beginning to believe that slowing down doesn't mean giving up, it means tuning in. It's a healing companion for women in transition, for those entering a new chapter not marked by noise but by depth. In workspaces, soft purples can help you focus, not with urgency but with vision. They clear space for big-picture thinking, for ideas that need room to evolve. In bedrooms, pale violet or dusty lilac can soothe anxiety and encourage restful dreaming. Not all sleep is peaceful, but in a room touched by purple, rest becomes sacred again. But purple, like silence, needs space to be understood. Used too heavily, it can weigh down a room, making it feel overly heavy or dramatic. Deep, saturated purples are best used sparingly or paired with softer elements, creams, warm woods, golden accents, to avoid emotional overload. Let purple be a suggestion, not a statement. More than any other color, purple connects to the unseen. It creates space for ritual, for thought, for breath. In a home that often serves as a place of doing, cooking, cleaning, planning, rushing, purple carves out a space for being. It says not everything needs to be done. Some things simply need to be felt. And that's the whisper so many women forget to listen for. After years of showing up, giving, producing, tending, purple gently asks, "What is asking to rise within you now?" It doesn't come with answers. It comes with stillness, the kind that makes room for truth to surface. If your home feels too loud, too bright, too outward-facing, purple is the inward gaze. If your spirit feels scattered or disconnected from what matters, purple is the quiet guide back. It doesn't promise clarity in a flash. It offers clarity that unfolds slowly with presence. Maybe that's why purple has long been linked with transformation, not the kind you broadcast, but the kind that changes everything from the inside out. The kind of change that doesn't need to be seen to be real. The kind of strength that is not loud but lasting. So if you're standing at the edge of something you can't name yet, something you're just beginning to feel, let purple be there. In a journal cover, in the flicker of candlelight, in a shawl draped across your favorite chair. Let it whisper to you in the moments between tasks. Let it be the breath you didn't know you needed. Let it remind you that you are allowed to be whole, even in your quietest season. Because sometimes what we need most isn't more light, it's more depth. And purple doesn't shine, it listens. Final. Maybe you came here looking for a new paint color, something fresh, something pretty. But now you may sense that this was never about walls. It was about something deeper, something waiting beneath the surface of your everyday life, asking quietly to be seen. Because color is not just what we see. It's what we feel before we have words. It's memory, mood, rhythm, and rest. It's the way light enters a room and changes not just the space, but the person standing inside it. Every shade you choose becomes part of the conversation your home has with you each day. Some colors hold you when you need to fall apart. Some remind you of your power. Some stir joy in places that had gone quiet. And some simply help you breathe. You don't need to redecorate your life. You only need to remember that your space is allowed to evolve just as you are. That healing can begin not with a grand gesture, but with a subtle shift. A new hue, a softened light, a corner that feels like it finally belongs to you. So before the next color touches your brush or your wall, pause, ask gently, not with urgency, but with honesty. What do I want this room to feel like? And what part of me has been waiting to feel the same? Because maybe the most beautiful room isn't the one everyone admires. It's the one where your soul finally feels at home.